When a mute deaf girl signs a desperate message about being followed, her humble single father, a former trauma surgeon hiding from his past, crosses paths with a ruthless CEO whose collapsing empire and frozen heart are about to be shattered by the one thing she never believed in: family. The crystal chandeliers of the Grand Imperial Hotel cast prismatic light across marble floors so polished they reflect the souls of those who walk upon them. Tonight, the hotel hosts the annual philanthropic gala, a parade of wealth disguised as charity, where million-dollar gowns brush against $1,000 suits, and champagne flows like the empty promises exchanged between painted smiles. James Chen stands near the service entrance, his weathered janitor's uniform, a stark contrast to the opulence surrounding him. At 38, his face carries the kind of exhaustion that seeps into bones, dark circles beneath eyes that once held ambition, now holding only ghosts. His hands, rough from industrial cleaner and mop handles, betray a gentleness when they sign to his daughter. 7-year-old Lily Chen watches the crowd with enormous brown eyes that miss nothing despite hearing nothing. Her second-hand dress, carefully mended, lovingly pressed, catches the light as her small hands move with fluid grace, signing, "Daddy, why do they look at us like we're invisible?" James kneels, his knees cracking softly, and signs back. "Because to them, we are, sweetheart. But that's okay. We see each other, and that's what matters." But Lily's attention has shifted. Her eyes widen, hands moving frantically. "Daddy, Daddy, that man, the one by the fountain, he won't stop following me. Since we got here, he's watching me." James's blood freezes. His eyes scan the crowd with a sharpness that doesn't belong to a janitor, finding a thin man in an expensive suit lurking near the champagne fountain, his gaze fixed unnaturally on Lily. Every instinct James has spent 3 years suppressing roars to life. The enormous glass doors part like the Red Sea. Silence doesn't fall, it crashes. Victoria Ashford enters not as a woman, but as a phenomenon. At 34, she is Forbes' top, youngest self-made billionaire, the CEO of Ashford Technologies, and the personification of winter itself. Her midnight blue gown costs more than James earns in 5 years, but it's not the dress that commands the room. It's her eyes. Arctic blue, calculating, completely devoid of warmth. Behind her, an assistant scurries, tablet glowing. "Miss Ashford, the mayor is waiting." He can continue waiting. Her voice could cut diamonds. "Where is Senator Morrison?" "Northwest corner, near the—" "I see him." Victoria moves through the crowd like a surgical strike, her 5-inch heels clicking a rhythm of absolute authority. People don't greet her. They yield to her. She is untouchable, unreachable, a fortress in human form. But then, impact. Lily, running from her father's side to escape the man's watchful eyes, collides directly into Victoria's legs. The entire ballroom inhales. Victoria looks down at the small creature clinging to her gown, her expression shifting from shock to irritation to confusion. The child is signing something urgently, desperately, tears forming in her eyes. "Get this child," Victoria begins, but Lily's hands move faster, more frantically. James appears instantly, breathless, terror and apology warring on his face. "I'm so sorry, ma'am, she didn't mean." But Victoria raises one perfectly manicured hand for silence. Her eyes are locked on Lily's moving hands, and impossibly, she understands. She says someone is following her. Victoria's voice carries a strange note, a man by the fountain. James's jaw slackens. You know sign language?" Victoria's mask cracks for a microsecond, a flash of something human, something painful, before slamming back into place. Where is your supervisor? This child shouldn't be in this area during the gala. I'm working the event. Ma'am, my sitter canceled last minute. I had no choice but to bring her. I swear she won't be any trouble. Won't be trouble? A nasal voice interrupts. Gerald Hampton, old money and older prejudice, his face already flushed with champagne. Henry, is this one of your staff? He's brought a child to our gala? How utterly inappropriate. Henry Morrison, the hotel manager, appears as if summoned, his face a mask of forced professionalism. Mr. Chen, I specifically told you. I had no choice, James repeats, his voice quiet but firm. My daughter needed me. Your daughter needed you to leave her somewhere proper, Gerald sneers. This is a $5,000 a plate charity event, not a daycare. Look at her, touching Miss Ashford's gown with those grubby little hands. Her hands are clean. James's voice remains level, but something dangerous flickers in his eyes. And she apologized. She can't even speak properly. Enough! Victoria's voice doesn't rise in volume, but it detonates through the space. Every conversation within 20 feet dies. She turns to Gerald with the expression she reserves for competitors she's about to destroy. This child demonstrated more grace in her accidental collision than you've managed in your entire existence, Gerald. She communicated. She showed distress. She sought help. What's your excuse for standing here, running your mouth, while missing the fact that she's genuinely frightened? Gerald's face purples. Victoria, I hardly think. No, you hardly do think. That's always been your problem. Victoria's gaze shifts to Lily, then to James. Something unreadable crosses her features. You said someone was following her? James nods, positioning himself between his daughter and Gerald's judgment. A man, thin, expensive suit, by the champagne fountain. He's been watching her since we arrived. Victoria's assistant, Marcus, immediately pulls out his phone, but Victoria's hand stills him. Her eyes scan the crowd with a precision that surprises James. This isn't idle curiosity. This is systematic analysis. There. She nods toward the fountain. Gray pinstripe, Rolex, nervous fingers. Security. Two men in discreet suits materialize. Victoria points. That man. Detain him quietly. Check his credentials and find out why he's so interested in a 7-year-old girl. As security moves, Lily's small hand finds James's. Her other hand signs, "The ice lady helped us." Victoria catches the movement, and for a heartbeat, her fortress wavers. I'm not... She stops herself. What's your name? Lily signs slowly, carefully. Lily. Lily. Victoria's voice softens by a fraction of a degree. From winter to late autumn. That's a beautiful name. Thank you. Thank you for helping her, Ms. Ashford, James says quietly. I know you didn't have to. No, I didn't. Victoria's walls slam back up. But I won't have children frightened at an event bearing my company's sponsorship. Bad optics. She turns to Marcus. Follow up with security. Full report. She begins to walk away. But Lily suddenly breaks from James's grip and tugs on Victoria's gown again. This time, her signs are different. Why are you so sad? The ballroom doesn't just go quiet, it stops breathing. Victoria Ashford, the woman who once told a crying employee that tears are a waste of water and time, stands frozen. Her expression cycles through shock, offense, denial, and then something breaks. Just for a second, a hairline fracture in bulletproof glass. I'm not sad, Victoria says, but her voice lacks its usual certainty. Lily signs again. Your eyes are sad, like Daddy's eyes before I hug him. James's face flushes crimson. Lily, that's enough. Miss Ashford doesn't. But Victoria is staring at this small, deaf child, as if seeing something impossible. Her hand rises unconsciously to her chest, a gesture so vulnerable that Marcus actually steps forward in concern. Miss Ashford, the mayor is. Tell him I'll be delayed. Victoria's eyes never leave Lily. Something unexpected has come up. The security report comes back clean. The man was a photographer for the city magazine, trying to capture candid shots of the common workers for a contrasting feature. Inappropriate, yes. Dangerous, no. But Victoria hasn't left. She stands in the private reception area, ostensibly reviewing acquisition documents. But her eyes keep drifting to where James helps Lily eat from a small plate of hors d'oeuvres he managed to salvage from an abandoned tray. That's highly irregular, sniffs Constance Wellington, a board member's wife, dripping in pearls and disdain. A janitor in the reception lounge? Victoria, dear, surely you can have them removed. He's here at my invitation, Victoria lies smoothly. His daughter provided unique insight. Insight, Constance's laugh, is like breaking glass. What insight could possibly come from a mute child and her father who mops floors for a living? James's jaw tightens, but he says nothing. He's learned, over 3 years of humiliation, of swallowing pride, of taking insults, that silence is survival. For Lily's sake, he can endure anything. But Lily sees. Children always see. Her hands move with fierce intensity. Why is she so mean? You're the smartest, bravest daddy in the world. James signs back. She doesn't know us, sweetheart. It's okay. It's not okay. Lily's signs are sharp, angry. Tell her who you really are. This is who I really am now. Your father. That's enough. Victoria watches this exchange, understanding every word through Lily's eloquent hands. Something in her chest constricts uncomfortably, an organ she thought had atrophied years ago, attempting to beat. Your daughter is quite expressive, Victoria says, approaching. The crowd parts automatically. She's remarkable, James says simply. Pride evident, despite his humble circumstances. What's she saying? She's defending me. Children always think their parents are better than they are. And are you? Victoria's question isn't idle. Better than you appear? James's eyes, God, those eyes, meet hers. For a moment, Victoria sees something that doesn't belong in a janitor's face. Depth, intelligence, and an ocean of carefully contained pain. I'm exactly what I need to be, Ms. Ashford. A father. How philosophical. Her tone attempts dismissive, but lands closer to curious. And before you were a father who mops floors? Before doesn't matter anymore. Oh, this is rich. Gerald's voice booms across the reception, alcohol making him bold and cruel. Victoria Ashford, ice queen of international business, chatting with the help. Someone get a picture. The board will love this. Pretty. Laughter ripples through certain segments of the crowd. The kind of laughter that punches down, that finds humor in hierarchy. James begins to step back, to fade into the wallpaper as he's learned to do, but Lily's hand grips his trouser leg. Her eyes plead, don't run. Gerald, your retirement portfolio must be performing poorly if you need entertainment at this level, Victoria says. Her voice acid. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. This is a gala for the city's elite, not a soup kitchen. Although, Gerald's eyes glint with malicious inspiration. Maybe that's your next venture? Ashford Technologies expanding into charity cases? You could start with him? The crowd's laughter grows louder. Even those who would never say such things aloud find themselves smiling, grateful to not be the target. Victoria's assistant leans in. Ms. Ashford, perhaps we should say, what's your greatest failure, Gerald? The question cuts through the laughter like a scalpel. Gerald blinks, confused. Sorry? Your greatest failure, Victoria repeats, stepping forward, Each click of her heels is a countdown to detonation. You're standing here, mocking a man you know nothing about. I don't see how that's... You inherited $60 million from your father and turned it into $30 million through sheer incompetence. Your wife left you for your business partner. Your children won't return your calls. You drink 12-year-old scotch like it's water and tell everyone who'll listen about the deals you almost made. Shall I continue? The reception has gone graveyard silent. Gerald's face is the color of raw meat. How dare you? How dare you? Victoria's voice could freeze hell itself. This man has done nothing to you. His daughter has done nothing to you. Yet you feel entitled to mock them because they serve food while you consume it. Because he cleans floors while you walk on them. They don't belong here. Neither do you, but security hasn't removed you yet. A tragedy of hospitality. Gerald's mouth opens and closes like a dying fish. Finally, he spins and storms toward the exit, his dignity in tatters. The crowd doesn't know whether to applaud or disappear. They settle for nervous small talk and increased wine consumption. Victoria turns back to James, expecting gratitude perhaps, or fear, or the usual sycophantic appreciation she inspires. Instead, she finds anger. I didn't need you to do that. His voice is quiet, controlled, but there's steel underneath. Excuse me? You humiliated him to defend me, but you've just painted a target on my back for everyone here. I work with these people. I clean their offices. They're going to remember this, and they're going to take it out on me when you're not around. Victoria blinks. No one, absolutely no one, criticizes her actions. I was helping. You were exercising power. There's a difference. James places a protective hand on Lily's shoulder. Thank you for your concern earlier, Ms. Ashford. We'll get out of your way now. He begins to guide Lily toward the service exit. Wait. James stops but doesn't turn. Victoria doesn't know why she's spoken. Doesn't know why this man's quiet dignity affects her more than 1,000 speeches of praise. Doesn't know why watching him walk away feels like losing something she never had. The words are foreign in her mouth. I apologize. You're right. Now James turns, shock written across his features. I exercised power without considering consequences beyond my immediate satisfaction. That was thoughtless. Victoria's admission costs her something. Pride, perhaps, or the comfortable belief in her own infallibility. But I stand by my assessment of Gerald. He's a parasite. A ghost of a smile touches James's lips. Won't argue with you there. Lily tucks her father's sleeve, signing rapidly. James's expression shifts to discomfort. Lily, no, but Lily is already moving, crossing the space to Victoria, with determination that belies her 7 years. She signs something elaborate, passionate, pointing between her father and Victoria. What's she saying? Victoria asks. James sighs, a sound carrying 3 years of weariness. She says you're both lonely, and lonely people should be friends. The words hit Victoria like a physical blow. Her carefully constructed walls shudder under the innocent accuracy of a child's observation. Your daughter is remarkably perceptive. She's seen too much, James says quietly. Loss teaches children to read what's hidden. And what have you lost? The question hangs in the air between them. Too intimate for strangers, too honest for this glittering crowd. Before James can answer, a woman's scream pierces the ballroom. Victoria's assistant, Marcus, crumples to the marble floor like a puppet with cut strings. His tablet shatters beside him, his face gray, his chest barely moving. The crowd freezes. These are people who negotiate million-dollar deals, but panic at the sight of real crisis. Someone call 911. Victoria's command snaps through the paralysis. Already calling, someone shouts. He's not breathing right. Another voice adds, unhelpful panic rising. Victoria drops to her knees beside Marcus, her expensive gown pooling on the floor, her hands hovering uselessly above his chest. For all her power, all her control, she is helpless before the human body's betrayal. Marcus, stay with me. Marcus. And then James is there. The man in the janitor's uniform moves with a speed and precision that doesn't match his station. He drops beside Marcus, his hands already moving, checking pulse, checking airways, tilting the head with a knowledge that speaks of training far beyond what any janitor possesses. He's having a heart attack. James's voice has transformed. Calm, authoritative, every word a surgical strike of information. Severe MI, possibly full arrest. How far out is the ambulance? 7 minutes. Someone stammers. He doesn't have 7 minutes. James's hands are already tearing open Marcus's shirt. Does anyone have aspirin? I do. A woman fumbles in her purse, producing a bottle. Give him one, crushed if possible. Miss Ashford. His eyes meet hers, and she sees a different person looking back. I need you to call out the time. Every 30 seconds, you tell me. Can you do that? Victoria nods, her phone already in her hand, stopwatch activated. She's never taken orders from anyone in her professional life. But she doesn't hesitate now. James begins chest compressions. Perfect rhythm. Perfect depth. The movements of someone who has done this hundreds of times. His hands know exactly where to press, how hard, how fast. Who are you? Victoria whispers, watching this transformation. Someone who used to save lives. His answer is grunted between compressions. 30 compressions, then 2 rescue breaths. Standard protocol. The crowd watches in stunned silence as the janitor performs CPR with the skill of a seasoned professional. Lily stands at the edge, her small hands pressed together, her eyes squeezed shut in prayer or hope or both. 30 seconds, Victoria calls. Good, stay with me, Marcus. You've got a daughter, right? Think about her. How does he know Marcus has a daughter? Victoria filed that information away months ago. Marcus mentioned her once during a late-night session reviewing contracts. But this janitor knows? 1 minute. James checks pulse, shakes his head, continues compressions. Sweat beads on his forehead. His weathered janitor's uniform is soaked, but his hands never falter. Ms. Ashford, when the paramedics arrive, tell them possible STEMI, 42-year-old male. History of hypertension. It's in his employee file. Compression-only CPR for. He glances at her phone. 1 minute 30 seconds so far. How do you know his medical history? People talk to janitors. We're invisible, remember? But there's something else in his voice. Something that suggests he knows far more than passive observation would reveal. 2 minutes. Marcus coughs. His eyes flutter. There you are. James's voice fills with relief, with warmth, with a tenderness that seems impossible from someone whose hands are literally restarting a heart. Stay with us, Marcus. Your daughter needs you. So does Miss Ashford, though she'd never admit it. Despite the crisis, Victoria feels something crack inside her chest. This man, this janitor, sees things no one else sees, says things no one else dares. The paramedics burst through the doors, professional and efficient. James seamlessly hands off care, providing a detailed report that would impress an ER doctor. You maintained cardiac output for 3 minutes, the lead paramedic says, respect evident. That's exceptional work. Are you medical? James's eyes flicker to Lily, standing small and frightened at the edge of the crowd. I used to be. Long time ago. Well, you saved his life. He'd have been gone without you. As the paramedics load Marcus onto the stretcher, Victoria stands slowly, her gown stained with, She doesn't care. She's staring at James as if seeing him for the first time, which, in a way, she is. You're a doctor. Was. He moves toward Lily, checking her over, signing comfort and reassurance. Past tense. People don't stop being doctors. It's not a job. It's a life I left behind. James's voice carries finality. For good reasons. What reasons? He looks at her then. Really looks at her. And Victoria sees an abyss of pain that mirrors her own hidden depths. The kind that make you choose between saving lives and saving your daughter. Before Victoria can respond, Henry Morrison appears, his face a mixture of awe and calculation. Mr. Chen, that was extraordinary. I had no idea you had medical training. It's not relevant to my work here. But surely, with those skills, you could... I'm happy where I am. The lie is obvious to Victoria, who's built an empire recognizing lies. Of course, of course. Henry's smile is oily. Though I must admit, having that kind of emergency response at our events, perhaps we could discuss a new arrangement. Compensation adjustment for medical coverage. James's jaw tightens. I'm not interested. You're a janitor turning down more money? Gerald's voice, he hasn't left. Of course, too curious about the drama. To keep mopping floors? That's either incredibly noble or incredibly stupid. It's called priorities. James looks at Lily, and his entire face softens. Something you'd know nothing about. Lily signs something, her little face exhausted and overwhelmed. James nods, signs back. We need to go, he tells Victoria, though he doesn't owe her an explanation. It's past her bedtime, and she's had too much excitement. Wait. Victoria reaches out. Actually reaches out, her hand extended toward this man in a janitor's uniform, who just revealed himself to be something entirely different. Marcus is my assistant. Has been for 4 years. You saved his life. Anyone with CPR training would have. But they didn't. You did. Victoria's voice carries an unfamiliar tremor. Why did you stop being a doctor? James is quiet for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice is barely above a whisper. Because I was a trauma surgeon at St. Catherine's Hospital. 3 years ago, there was a mass casualty event, a building collapse. I worked 36 hours straight, lost 23 patients, saved 47. When I finally came home, his eyes close. End. My wife had died from an aneurysm. Alone. On our kitchen floor, while I was saving strangers. The reception area has gone absolutely silent. Even Gerald has the decency to look uncomfortable. Lily was 4, James continues. She found her mother, a 4-year-old child, alone with her dead mother for 6 hours before neighbors heard her crying. The trauma caused psychogenic deafness. She could hear before that day. Now she can't. And it's my fault. That's not, Victoria starts. I chose my job over my family, and my family paid the price. So yes, I'm a janitor now. I work 8-hour shifts, never a minute more. I'm home every night. I'm present every morning. I don't save lives anymore, Ms. Ashford. I protect the one life that matters. He takes Lily's hand, and they turn toward the exit. Victoria watches them go, her heart, that atrophied organ, beating with unfamiliar pain. Ms. Ashford, one of the board members approaches. The mayor is asking for you. Tell him I'm unavailable. But, I said I'm unavailable. Victoria's eyes never leave the service door through which James and Lily disappeared. Cancel the rest of my evening. Miss Ashford, you never cancel. I do now. And Victoria Ashford, who has never left an event early in her life, walks out of her own gala, following a janitor and his daughter into the night. St. Catherine's Medical Center, the place James swore he'd never return to, stands like a monument to his former life. The fluorescent lights, the antiseptic smell, the distant beeping of monitors. Every sensation is a knife to his carefully sealed wounds. But Marcus is here, in the cardiac ICU, and Victoria insisted James come for the update. Used her considerable influence to get him temporary clearance. Standing beside him now in the private waiting room. She's no longer the Ice Queen. She's just a woman who nearly lost someone important. Dr. Williams says Marcus is stable, Victoria reports, her phone still in hand. The next 48 hours are critical, but your intervention gave him a real chance. James nods, his eyes fixed on the ICU doors. That's good. Good. You saved a man's life and you say good like you commented on the weather. What do you want me to say? I don't know. Victoria's composure fractures. Something, anything that acknowledges you're not just a janitor. Just so maddeningly calm. She rounds on him, and there, finally, is fire beneath the ice. You perform CPR like you're conducting a symphony. You casually mention your wife died and your daughter lost her hearing from trauma. You walk through your old hospital like you're strolling through a graveyard. How are you so composed? Because if I'm not composed, I fall apart, James says simply. And I can't afford to fall apart. Lily needs me. Where is she? Safe. A friend from work is watching her. Mrs. Patterson, he smiles slightly. The only person at the hotel who treats me like a human being. Victoria flinches at that. I didn't mean, you meant exactly that. And you're right. Victoria sits in one of the waiting room chairs, looking suddenly exhausted. I treat people like chess pieces, useful or not useful, strategic or not strategic. I don't see them. Why not? Why should I? Jane sits beside her, not too close, respectful of boundaries she's clearly drawn around herself like fortress walls. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting. They sit in silence. The hospital moves around them. Doctors conferring. Nurses changing shifts. Families waiting for news, good or bad. Life and death in constant negotiation. My brother was deaf, Victoria says suddenly. James looks at her, surprised. Nicholas. Deaf from birth. Brilliant. Funny. Kinder than anyone had a right to be in our family. My parents treated him like a broken toy. Sent him to every specialist, every experimental treatment, desperate to fix him. Her voice is ice, but underneath, James hears magma. I learned sign language when I was 6 because I wanted to talk to him. Really talk to him. What happened to him? Victoria's silence stretches so long that James thinks she won't answer. Then, he died when he was 12. Meningitis. Sudden, brutal, gone. She looks at her hands. I was 14. I told myself I'd never care about anyone that much again. Never be that vulnerable. Never hurt like that. And did it work? Spectacularly. Her laugh is broken glass. I built an empire, made billions, crushed competitors, never lost a negotiation, and I'm completely, utterly alone. James doesn't offer platitudes. People like Victoria would spit them back poisoned. Instead, Lily said your eyes were sad. Children see too much. Children see the truth adults work hard to hide. Victoria turns to him, really looks at him. Why were you kind to me? At the gala, after I defended you in a way that could have made your life harder. You had every right to be angry, but you weren't. You were honest. You were trying to help. The execution was flawed, but the intention wasn't. James leans back, his own exhaustion showing. I don't have the energy for anger anymore, Miss Ashford. It takes too much, and I have too little. Victoria. Excuse me. Call me Victoria. After you've saved my assistant's life and listened to my tragic backstory, Miss Ashford seems unnecessarily formal. A genuine smile crosses James's face, the first she's seen. It transforms him. Suddenly she can see what he must have been before life carved him down to survival. Confident, brilliant, alive. All right. Victoria. Her name and his voice does something strange to her nervous system. Tell me about Lily, she says. Really tell me. So he does. James talks about the daughter who learned to navigate a silent world with grace, who invented her own sign for I love you, a combination of touching her heart and pointing skyward, toward where her mother might be, who draws pictures of families, always with 3 people, never 2, as if she could will her mother back through art, who stands up to bullies despite being half their size, who sees sadness in strangers and wants to fix it. She's been asking me for a year if she can have a mom again, James says, his voice finally cracking. She doesn't understand why I won't date, won't even consider it. How do I explain to a 7-year-old that I'm terrified? That every time I think about caring for someone again, I remember my wife on that kitchen floor. Lily screaming, back when she could scream, for help that didn't come. That wasn't your fault, wasn't it? His eyes are raw. I knew she had migraines. I knew they were getting worse. But I was so consumed with my work, with my importance, with saving lives I'd never meet again, that I ignored the life I came home to every night. I'm a doctor, Victoria, and trained to recognize symptoms, and I missed them in my own wife. You can't know. I'll always know. That's my burden. He stands, moves to the window overlooking the city. So yes, I mop floors now. I'm home for dinner. I tuck Lily in every night. I've read her the same 3 bedtime stories 400 times each, and I'll read them 400 more, because that's what matters. Not saving the world, saving my daughter. Victoria stands, too, joining him at the window. Outside, the city glitters with the cold beauty of distance, millions of lives reduced to points of light. I built Ashford Technologies from nothing, she says. Worked 18-hour days for 10 years, sacrificed every relationship, every friendship, every possibility of a normal life. And for what? So my board can threaten to replace me because our stock dropped 3%? So competitors can circle like sharks? So I can stand in my empty penthouse every night and congratulate myself on my success while eating dinner alone. Do you want to change that? I don't know how. James turns to her, and the look in his eyes is understanding without pity. The most compassionate thing anyone has offered her in years. Start small. Marcus is going to need support during his recovery. Actually provide it, not delegate it. You, personally, provide it. Learn his daughter's name. Visit him. Be present. I don't know how to be present. Neither did I. But you learn, because the alternative is losing what matters. The moment stretches between them. 2 people wounded in different ways, standing in the fluorescent glare of a hospital waiting room, seeing each other with uncomfortable clarity. Mr. Chen? A nurse appears. Mr. Marcus is asking for you. He's awake and, well, he specifically requested you. James looks surprised. Me? Not Miss Ashford? He asked for both of you, but he wants to speak to you first. Marcus looks impossibly fragile against the white hospital sheets, wires and tubes connecting him to machines that beep reassurance. Alive, alive, alive. You're a terrible janitor, Marcus croaks when James enters. James laughs. Actually laughs. Why's that? Because you don't belong pushing a mop. You belong here. Marcus's eyes are sharp despite the morphine. I knew. Did you know I knew? Knew what? Who you are. Dr. James Chen, trauma surgeon. The ghost of St. Catherine's, they called you. They still talk about you here, the doctor who couldn't save his own wife. James flinches. Sorry, that was cruel. But I did my research when you were hired. You think Victoria doesn't run background checks? I flagged your file the day you applied. Then why hire me? Because Victoria has a soft spot for broken things, though she'd die before admitting it. And because I thought, maybe you'd come back. Maybe you'd remember who you really are. Marcus coughs, winces. You saved my life tonight. Anyone would have. Stop. Stop diminishing what you did. Marcus's voice strengthens. Victoria is going to offer you something. When she does, I want you to seriously consider it. Offer me what? But Marcus's eyes have closed, the morphine or exhaustion pulling him back under. Victoria enters as James stands to leave. They exchange a look, a question in her eyes, a wariness in his. He said you're going to continue. 1713, offer me something. Victoria's composure is back, but James can now see the hairline cracks. I'm going to offer you a position, Chief Medical Officer of Ashford Technologies. I don't understand. My company is expanding into medical technology. Surgical robotics, AI diagnostics, telemedicine platforms. I need someone who understands medicine from the inside, someone I can trust. You barely know me. I know you saved Marcus. I know you gave up everything for your daughter. I know you see things other people miss. That's enough. James shakes his head. I can't. 200,000 a year. Flexible hours. You'd be consulting, not practicing. No patients, no emergencies, no choosing between work and Lily. Just your expertise guiding our development. Victoria. 300,000. I can go higher. This not about money. Then what is it about? And he doesn't have to cost you everything this time. Maybe there's a balance. I don't believe in balance. Neither did I, until tonight. The hospital intercom crackles with codes and pages. The world of medicine, James's old world, pulses around them. Let me think about it, he says finally. Victoria nods. My card. Call me tomorrow. Or don't. But James, she uses his first name deliberately. Your daughter deserves to see you're more than your guilt. She leaves before he can respond. James stands alone in the hospital corridor, caught between two lives, neither of which feels like home anymore. James hasn't called. Victoria tells herself it doesn't matter, that she's made the offer and it's his choice. But she finds herself looking at his contact card more often than is professionally reasonable. Meanwhile, her empire is fracturing. The board meeting is a bloodbath disguised as corporate governance. 15 executives around a glass table, all of them smelling blood in the water. Her blood. Market share down 8%. Richard Thornton, the CFO, who's been angling for her position for 2 years, delivers the news like a eulogy. Investor confidence shaken by the quantum drive failure. A minor setback, Victoria interrupts. The technology is sound. We're ahead of schedule on fixes. Minor? Martha Weston, old money and older grudges. We lost 40 million on that minor setback. The shareholders are demanding answers. And they'll get them. The quarterly report will show continued decline. Richard slides a document across the table. I've done projections. Without a major strategic pivot, we're looking at 15% losses by year-end. Victoria scans the numbers. They're accurate. She hates that they're accurate. I'm calling for a vote of no confidence. Richard's smile is a shark smile. Nothing personal, Victoria, but the company needs new leadership. You mean it needs you. I mean it needs someone who isn't distracted, someone focused. You've been different lately. Softer, maybe. That's not the Victoria Ashford who built this company. He's not wrong. Since the gala, since James and Lily, since Marcus's heart attack, Something has shifted in her. She's been leaving the office at 7 instead of midnight, answering fewer emails, actually thinking about things beyond quarterly profits. "I'm as committed as ever," she says, but the words ring hollow even to her. "Then prove it." Richard leans forward. The Meridian acquisition. They're asking $30 billion. Every analyst says it's overpriced, risky, potentially disastrous. But it would show strength, aggressive expansion. The old Victoria would do it without blinking. The old Victoria would do her due diligence first. The old Victoria would trust her instincts. He's baiting her, and she knows it, unless those instincts aren't what they used to be. Victoria's phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. "Did you know your CFO is meeting with Titan Corp? Might want to check his travel records. A friend." Her eyes snap to Richard, who doesn't blink, but she sees it, a micro expression of concern, quickly hidden. "This meeting is adjourned," Victoria announces. "We'll reconvene when I have a full strategic plan." "That's not," Martha begins. "I said adjourned." Victoria's ice is back, colder than ever. "Richard, my office. Now." Victoria's office occupies the entire top floor, glass and steel, and a view that reminds her daily that she stands above everyone else. But right now, she feels like she's standing on a crumbling cliff. "Who's your contact at Titan Corp?" She doesn't ease into it. Richard's face is a mask. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. You've been shopping them our proprietary technology specs. Probably promised them access in exchange for a CEO position once they acquire us in a hostile takeover." "Did I miss anything?" "You're paranoid." "I'm observant." Victoria pulls up files on her screen. Travel records, expense reports, email timestamps that correlate with known Titan Corp executive schedules. "You've been sloppy, Richard. Arrogant. You thought I wouldn't notice because I've been different lately." "You have been different. Weak. That stunt at the gala, defending some janitor, leaving your own event early. The board sees it. The investors see it. And you thought you'd take advantage." Richard shrugs, his mask dropping. "You built something incredible, Victoria, but you've lost your edge. Someone needs to save Ashford Technologies, from you if necessary. Get out." "You can't fire me. The board, I'm not firing you. I'm letting you resign before I have you arrested for corporate espionage. You have until 5 p.m. to clean out your office. If you're here at 5:01, security will escort you out in handcuffs. Your choice." Richard stands, his face twisted with anger. "You're finished, Victoria. With or without me, this company is done. You're too soft now to do what needs to be done." After he leaves, Victoria sits at her desk, the city spreading beneath her like a circuit board. She should feel victorious. She caught a traitor, protected her company. But Richard's words echo, too soft now. Is she? Her phone rings, unknown number again. "Victoria Ashford." "Miss Ashford?" "This is Mrs. Patterson. From the Imperial Hotel. Is Ashford. I'm calling about James." Victoria's blood freezes. "What happened?" "He's been fired. Mr. Morrison found out about his medical background. Apparently someone sent him James's employment history from St. Catherine's. He's claiming James falsified his application by not disclosing his medical credentials. That it's a liability issue." The woman's voice shakes with anger. "But that's nonsense. James never lied. He just didn't list every job he ever had." "They're using it as an excuse." "An excuse for what?" "For firing the man who made their precious guests uncomfortable by being too competent. By reminding them that they'd be dead without people they look down on." Mrs. Patterson's voice breaks. He's got Lily to support. He can't afford to be out of work. And I'm too old and too low on the ladder to do anything. Victoria is already standing, grabbing her coat. What's his address? I can't just give out, Mrs. Patterson. I'm going to help him. But I need his address. A pause. Then, I'll text it to you. But, Miss Ashford, he's proud. Don't make him feel smaller than he already does. James's apartment is in a neighborhood Victoria has never visited. Not dangerous, but worn. The building is clean, but aging, with flickering hallway lights and stairs that creak under her heels. She finds his door, 3B, and knocks. No answer. She knocks again. James, it's Victoria. I know you're home. The door opens a crack. James looks worse than she's ever seen him. Unshaven, exhausted, eyes red. How did you get my address? Mrs. Patterson, can I come in? Now's not a good time. I heard what happened. I want to help. I don't need help. He starts to close the door, but Victoria does something she's never done. She begs, please. I'm not here as your former employer or a potential business associate. I'm here as someone who cares. The words surprise them both. James opens the door wider. The apartment is small but immaculate. Everything in its place. Clean but clearly threadbare. Children's drawings cover the refrigerator. A small table holds homework papers. This is a home built from love and held together by determination. Lily appears from a back room, her face lighting up when she sees Victoria. She signs enthusiastically. She says you look like a princess, James translates quietly. She's been drawing pictures of you since the gala. Victoria's throat tightens. I'm no princess. Try telling her that. They sit on a worn couch that's been repaired multiple times. Victoria, in her $3,000 suit, has never looked more out of place or felt more at home. I'm sorry about your job, she says. It was coming. I knew defending me at the gala would have consequences. This is my fault. No. James's voice is firm. This is Morrison's fault. This is the fault of a system that values appearance over substance. You're not responsible for how other people choose to be cruel. But I could have prevented. You stood up for my daughter, for me. That matters more than any job. He looks at Lily, who's showing Victoria her drawings. She talks about you constantly, signs about you. The ice lady who turned out to be kind. I'm not kind. You came to a stranger's apartment because you heard he was in trouble. What do you call that? Victoria doesn't have an answer. Lily brings her a drawing, a picture of 3 people holding hands. One tall with long dark hair, Victoria. One medium with kind eyes, James. And one small with a bright smile, Lily. She draws families, James explains. Always has. Since her mother died, she's been trying to imagine what a complete family might look like again. I'm in her drawing. You made an impression. Victoria looks at this picture, this impossible, beautiful picture, and feels something crack open inside her chest. That atrophied organ, it's beating. God, it's beating hard enough to hurt. I'm going to destroy Morrison, she says quietly, and everyone who was part of this. Victoria, no, you don't understand. She turns to him, and her eyes are fire beneath ice. I spent my life being exactly what people like Morrison respect. Ruthless, powerful, untouchable. And it's made me miserable. But you've been everything they dismiss. Humble, kind, focused on what actually matters. And you're the happiest person I've met, even with nothing. I'm not happy. I'm surviving. You're more than surviving. You're present. You're real. You haven't let the world turn you cold. She stands, pacing his small living room. I want to offer you that position again. chief medical officer. But more than that, I want to offer you a partnership. A partnership? I need someone to help me remember why I built Ashford Technologies in the first place. Not for profit or power, but because I believe technology could improve lives. I need someone who understands what actually matters. She stops, the words catching. I need a friend. James stares at her. You're Victoria Ashford. You don't need friends. Everyone needs friends. I've just been too afraid to admit it. She sits back down, closer this time. My brother, Nicholas. When he died, I decided being alone was safer, easier. I could control my empire, but I couldn't control loss, so I chose control. But you lost your wife. You experienced the worst kind of pain, and you didn't shut down. You opened up. You became more human, not less. How? Because Lily needed me to be. James's hand finds his daughter's shoulder as she continues coloring. I couldn't afford to shut down. She'd already lost her mother. If she lost her father too, even just the emotional version, she'd have had no one. So you chose love over safety. Every day. It's terrifying. But yes, Victoria looks at them, this father and daughter who have almost nothing materially, but everything that matters spiritually. Teach me, please, teach me how to be human again. Before James can respond, his phone buzzes. He glances at it, and his face goes white. What? Victoria asks. It's from the hospital, St. Catherine's. He reads the text, his hands shaking. They're offering me my old position back. Full reinstatement. Chief of Trauma Surgery. That's wonderful. But James doesn't look happy. He looks terrified. I can't go back. I can't. His breathing quickens. What if it happens again? What if I get lost in the work and something happens to Lily? What if... Victoria takes his hands. The gesture is foreign to her, uncomfortable, perfect. Then I'll be there. For her. For you. You won't be alone this time. You can't promise that. I never make promises I can't keep. It's bad business. She smiles. A real smile, small but genuine. Let me do this. Let me be the safety net you never had. Why? Why would you do this for me? Victoria looks at Lily, then back at James. Because you made me remember my brother. Because your daughter sees me, really sees me, and still thinks I'm worth drawing. Because you're the first person in 20 years who's looked at me and seen a person instead of a title. I see a person who's terrified. Good. Then you see clearly. She squeezes his hands. I'm terrified. Terrified of caring, terrified of losing, terrified of being vulnerable. But I'm more terrified of spending the rest of my life alone in my glass tower, congratulating myself on protecting a heart that's already dead. James looks at her for a long moment. Then, okay to the CMO position, okay to the partnership, okay to trying. Victoria feels tears threatening, actual tears, which she hasn't shed in decades. You're sure? I'm not sure of anything. But Lily's been telling me for a year that I need to start living again instead of just surviving. Maybe she's right. Lily, as if sensing the shift, looks up from her drawing. Her hands move in rapid signs. What's she saying? Victoria asks. James's voice is thick with emotion. She says thank you for making her daddy smile again. And she wants to know if you'll come to dinner. I'd like that. Very much. As Victoria stays for a simple meal of pasta and vegetables, the best food she's tasted in years, she realizes that Richard was right about one thing. She is different now. She's better. But she's about to show him exactly how dangerous a better Victoria Ashford can be. The video goes viral on a Tuesday. Someone, Richard, obviously. Leaked security footage from the gala. Edited footage showing Victoria defending James, leaving early. The entire scandal spun as billionaire CEO abandons charity event for janitor romance. The headlines are brutal. Ice Queen melts, Ashford's mystery man, from mops to millions. Victoria's very public breakdown. The board calls an emergency meeting. The shareholders are panicking. Titan Corp has made their hostile takeover bid public. $45 billion, with the promise of restoring strong leadership. Victoria enters the boardroom at exactly 9 a.m., flanked by two people no one expected. James, in a suit that doesn't quite fit, but makes him look dignified nonetheless. And Marcus, still recovering but absolutely refusing to miss this. "What is this?" Martha demands. "A circus?" "No," Victoria says calmly. "A reminder." She activates the room's presentation system. The screens light up with data, reports, projections, but not the numbers Richard leaked. These are different. Richard Thornton sold proprietary technology to Titan Corp. Victoria begins without preamble. Not just plans, actual working prototypes of our quantum drive. He's been systematically sabotaging our projects to drive down stock prices, making us vulnerable to acquisition. Here's the evidence. The room explodes into accusations, denials, chaos, silence. Victoria's voice cuts through the noise. "I have recordings. I have emails. I have testimony from 3 engineers who were approached by Richard and refused. The SEC will receive all of this by end of day. Richard has already resigned. His shares are being seized as proceeds of corporate espionage. Any board member who knew about this or participated will face similar consequences." Martha's face is pale. "You can't prove." "I can prove everything. The question is whether you resign quietly or I make a public example of you. Your choice." "You have 10 seconds. Martha stands stiffly and leaves without a word. 2 other board members follow. Anyone else?" Victoria's eyes sweep the remaining members. "No? Good. Now let's talk about real leadership." She gestures to James. "Dr. James Chen, former chief of trauma surgery at St. Catherine's Hospital, will be joining Ashford Technologies as chief medical officer. He'll be overseeing our medical technology division's expansion. His first project will be developing advanced surgical robotics for understaffed emergency rooms. A project that will not only be profitable, but will save lives." "That's all very nice," one of the remaining board members says skeptically. "But this doesn't address the perception problem. The video shows me defending an employee and his disabled daughter from harassment by wealthy bullies. If that's a problem, if showing basic human decency is somehow scandalous, then I suggest you examine your own values. The shareholders will see a 15% stock increase by next quarter when we announce our medical technology expansion. They'll see partnerships with major hospital networks. They'll see Ashford Technologies moving beyond hardware into life-saving applications." Victoria's smile is sharp. "And if they don't, they're welcome to sell their shares. I'm sure Titan Corp will buy them at a discount after I finish destroying their reputation for corporate espionage." The room is silent. "But there's more," Victoria continues, her voice softening slightly. "I'm restructuring my role. I'll remain CEO, but I'm implementing mandatory management training focused on employee welfare, not just profit. I'm establishing a childcare program for staff who need it. And I'm taking weekends off." Your... What? Someone actually gasps. "Taking weekends off. Revolutionary, I know, but here's what I've learned. A leader who's miserable creates a miserable company. A leader who's present creates better products. And a leader who remembers there's more to life than quarterly reports makes better long-term decisions. She looks directly at James, who's watching her with something that might be pride. "I've built an empire," Victoria says, "but I forgot to build a life. That changes now. And if any of you have a problem with that, there's the door. Use it." No one moves. Good. Meeting adjourned. Victoria finds James on the building's rooftop garden, a space she commissioned years ago but never actually used. He's watching Lily play among the carefully maintained plants, her hands dancing in the golden hour light as she signs to invisible friends. "You were magnificent," James says as Victoria approaches. "I was angry. You are human. There's a difference." They stand side by side, watching the city transition from day to night. Below, millions of lives unfold in countless ways. Some triumphant, some tragic, all connected by the simple fact of being human. "Marcus told me something," Victoria says. "Before his heart attack, he'd been working 70-hour weeks, missing his daughter's school events, skipping family dinners. He said he'd become a ghost in his own life, just like I had. The heart attack was his body's way of forcing him to stop. Is he going to be okay?" "More than okay. He's taking 3 months leave, spending time with his daughter, learning to actually live instead of just work." She pauses. "He said I should do the same." "Should you?" "I'm trying. It's harder than any merger I've ever negotiated." James laughs, that warm, genuine sound that somehow makes the whole city seem brighter. "Yeah, being human is the hardest job there is." "How do you do it? After everything you've lost, how do you keep going?" James watches Lily, who's discovered a butterfly and is following it with delighted fascination. Because she's watching. Kids learn how to handle loss by watching their parents. If I shut down, she learns to shut down. If I keep trying, keep loving, keep being present despite the fear, she learns that too. "What if you fail?" "Then I fail, but at least I failed trying." He turns to Victoria. "You know what the real tragedy of my wife's death was? Not that she died. Death is part of life. The real tragedy was that I wasn't there, that she was alone, that my last gift to her was absence. That's not. It is, and I can't change it. But I can make sure Lily never feels that absence. I can make sure that when she looks for me, I'm there." Victoria feels tears threatening again. This is becoming a habit around James. "I don't know if I can do this. Be this. Change this much. You don't have to change everything. You just have to add something." "Add what?" "People who matter. Moments that mean something. Weekends off." He smiles. "It's not about working less, Victoria. It's about living more." Lily approaches, signing something excitedly. James translates. "She wants to know if you'll have dinner with us. Every week." She says families eat together, and we're going to be family now. Victoria's breath catches. "Family?" "She's decided," James says with a shrug. 7-year-olds are very decisive. Also, she's usually right about these things. "I don't know how to be family." "Neither do we. We'll figure it out together." Victoria looks at this man who survived tragedy, this child who's thrived despite loss, and realizes they're offering her something she hasn't had in 20 years. A chance. "Okay," she says. "But I should warn you, I'm terrible at cooking." "Perfect. So am I." James grins. Lily's developing a sophisticated palate for takeout. Lily takes Victoria's hand, just takes it, as if it's the most natural thing in the world. Her small, warm hand in Victoria's cold, perfectly manicured one. And something fundamental shifts. The Ashford Chen Foundation for Emergency Medical Access opens on a crisp autumn morning. The building is state-of-the-art. surgical robotics, telemedicine technology, training facilities for understaffed emergency rooms. But more than that, it's a promise that wealth and technology should serve life, not just profit. Victoria stands at the podium, James beside her, Lily in the front row signing enthusiastically to Marcus's daughter, who's learning sign language so they can be friends. I built a company, Victoria tells the assembled crowd, press, donors, medical professionals, and notably, several former board members who've been replaced by people with actual consciences. I built an empire. I thought that's what success looked like, buildings and bank accounts and being untouchable. She pauses, looking at James. I was wrong. Success is being touched, being changed, being vulnerable enough to care, and strong enough to act on that caring. She tells them about Marcus's heart attack, about a janitor who turned out to be a surgeon, about a daughter who saw sadness in a stranger and wanted to fix it. This foundation exists because a 7-year-old girl taught me something I'd forgotten, that we're all connected, that the person mopping floors might save your life, that the child you ignore might be the one who sees your hidden pain, that the walls we build to protect ourselves become the prisons we die in. The crowd is silent, hanging on every word. 6 months ago, I would have told you that emotion is weakness, that caring is a liability, that the only thing that matters is winning. Victoria smiles, a real smile now, one that reaches her eyes. Today, I'm announcing that Ashford Technologies is implementing company-wide changes, mandatory leave for new parents, on-site childcare, mental health support, and a hard cap on work hours. We're also raising minimum wage for all employees by 30%. The crowd erupts, some applauding, some shocked. Financial analysts probably already recalculating projections. Will this affect our quarterly profits? Probably. Will it make us a stronger company in the long term? Absolutely. Because happy employees are productive employees. Because people who feel valued create better products. Because a company that treats its workers like humans instead of resources attracts the best talent. She looks directly at the camera. This speech will be broadcast, analyzed, probably mocked by some. She doesn't care. I spent 20 years being Victoria Ashford, Ice Queen, untouchable CEO, the woman who never loses, and I was miserable. Now I'm just Victoria, a woman who's learning to be human again, with the help of people who never forgot how. After the ceremony, after the photos and interviews and congratulations, Victoria finds herself in the Foundation's garden, a smaller version of the rooftop garden where this all began. James appears with coffee. He's learned how she takes it. Black, 2 sugars, a habit she's trying to break, but he indulges anyway. You were magnificent, he says. You keep saying that. You keep being magnificent. They sit on a bench, watching Lily and Marcus's daughter play. The girls have developed their own combination of sign language and spoken word, creating a hybrid communication that works perfectly for them. I'm going back to surgery, James says quietly. Part-time, 3 days a week. Marcus is going to help cover Lily's schedule on those days. Are you sure? No, but I'm ready to try. And you were right, there's a balance. I can be a surgeon and a father. I just had to learn that being present doesn't mean being physically present every second. It means being emotionally available, mentally there, even when I'm at work. And if it gets too hard, then I adjust. That's the thing about balance, it's not static. You're constantly recalibrating. He looks at her. What about you? Any regrets? Victoria considers. She's taken more heat than she expected. Business magazines calling her soft. Competitors smelling blood. Some investors jumping ship. But stock prices are recovering. Employee satisfaction is up. And most importantly, she can look at herself in the mirror without seeing a stranger. No regrets. Well, one. What's that? I wish I'd met you and Lily years ago. Think of all the time I wasted being miserable. Don't think of it as wasted. Think of it as preparation. You had to become who you were to appreciate what you have now. Lily runs over, signing rapidly. James translates. She wants to know if we're going to the park after this. And if you're coming too. I have a 3 o'clock meeting, Victoria starts, then stops. Looks at these two people who've become the center of her rebuilt life. Which I'm going to reschedule. The park sounds perfect. Lily's face lights up with pure joy. She signs something else. She says thank you for being her mom, James translates, his voice thick with emotion. Victoria's tears finally fall, not from sadness or fear, but from overwhelming gratitude. I'm not. But Lily is already taking her hand, already pulling her toward the car, already treating her as exactly what she's become, family. You kind of are, James says softly, to her. And if I'm being honest, he takes Victoria's other hand. To me too. I don't know how to do this. This relationship, this family thing. Neither do I. We're both learning. What if I mess it up? Then we'll figure it out together. That's what families do. They mess up together, and fix things together, and keep showing up for each other, even when it's hard. Victoria looks at James, this man who saved her life without performing CPR, who showed her that strength isn't the absence of fear, but the presence of love despite fear, who chose her brokenness and said, yes, this too is worth fighting for. I love you, she says. The words are foreign in her mouth, terrifying and true. James doesn't look surprised. I know. I've known since you showed up at my apartment and begged to be let in. You knew? You're terrible at hiding emotions, Victoria. You just had so much practice hiding them from yourself that you thought you were hiding them from everyone. She laughs, actually laughs, and it feels like freedom. Lily signs something from the car. She says, stop kissing and let's go. James translates. We're not kissing. Not yet. He smiles. But eventually, when you're ready, when I'm ready, when it's right. And until then, we're just three people trying to figure out how to be a family. One dinner, one weekend, one small moment at a time. The photo on Victoria's desk, her first ever personal photo in her office, shows three people at a beach. James with rolled-up pants and wind-blown hair, Lily building an elaborate sandcastle, and Victoria in casual clothes she never imagined owning, laughing at something outside the frame. They look like a family. They are a family. The door opens. Marcus enters with the quarterly reports. Profits up 18%, employee retention up 42%. And Forbes is calling you the CEO who remembered how to be human. How does it feel? Victoria looks at the photo, then at Marcus, her friend, not just her assistant. It feels like winning, real winning, not the kind you measure in dollars. The old Victoria wouldn't recognize you. Good. The old Victoria was miserable. She stands, grabbing her bag. I'm leaving at 5 today. Lily has a school performance. The new Victoria wouldn't miss it for the world. The new Victoria wouldn't miss it for the world, Victoria agrees. As she leaves her office, the empire she built now serving purposes beyond profit, she thinks about that moment in the Grand Imperial Hotel when a small deaf girl collided into her life and cracked the ice around her heart. She thinks about James, who taught her that being strong means being vulnerable. She thinks about Lily, who saw her sadness and refused to accept it. She thinks about the family they've built, imperfect, unconventional, absolutely necessary. And Victoria Ashford, who once believed love was a liability, smiles at the truth she's finally learned. Love isn't what makes you weak. Love is what makes you powerful enough to be human. In a world that measures success by what you gain, they found victory in what they gave: presence, vulnerability, and the courage to build a family from broken pieces.